Hey everyone, and welcome back to the channel. When you think of ancient Greece, what comes to mind? Probably toga parties, the Olympic Games, and maybe some epic myths with gods throwing lightning bolts. And while all that is part of the story, the reality of ancient Greece is so much more detailed, complex, and frankly, way weirder and more wonderful than you might imagine. Today, we're going to peel back the layers of history and look at some incredible facts that will completely change how you see this amazing civilization. So grab your thinking caps because we're about to dive deep into the real ancient Greece. First up, let's talk about art. We all know those stunning, pure white marble statues that fill museums around the world. They become a symbol of classical beauty and perfection. Well, what if I told you they were never meant to be white? That's right, the ancient Greeks would have found our modern museums incredibly dull. Their statues were originally painted in a riot of bright, vivid, and sometimes even gaudy colors. This practice is called polychromy. Imagine the Parthenon not as a bleached white ruin, but as a vibrant temple painted in reds, blues, and golds, with statues that had painted skin, colorful hair, and intricately patterned clothing. Archaeologists have found microscopic traces of pigments like Egyptian blue and red ochre on these sculptures. Over centuries, rain, sun, and wind wore all that paint away, leaving behind the bare stone we see today. So the next time you see a Greek statue, try to picture it in full, dazzling color. It was a much more vibrant world than we give it credit for. Next, let's move from art to politics. The Athenians are famous for inventing democracy, but how they practiced it was truly fascinating. To ensure total fairness and prevent bribery or corruption in their legal system, they didn't just rely on good faith. They built a machine for it. It was called a claritarion. Picture a large stone slab covered in rows of neat little slots. Every citizen who was eligible to serve on a jury had a personal bronze token, kind of like an ID card, called a pinakion. At the start of the day, they'd place their tokens into these slots. Then came the genius part. An official would pour a mix of black and white balls into a funnel attached to the side of the machine. A crank mechanism would release the balls one by one. If a white ball came out, the entire row of citizens whose tokens were in that row were selected to be jurors for the day. If a black ball came out, that row was dismissed. It was a physical, tamper-proof randomizer, a concrete embodiment of their commitment to impartial justice. It is an incredible piece of civic engineering that shows just how seriously they took the idea of a government by the people. Speaking of politics, have you ever called someone an idiot? Well, the Greeks gave us that word, but it didn't originally mean what you think it does. The term comes from the Greek word idiots. In ancient Athens, an idiot wasn't someone who was unintelligent or foolish. It simply referred to a private citizen. Specifically, it meant someone who was eligible and qualified to participate in public life, to vote, hold office, or debate in the assembly, but chose not to. They kept to their own private affairs and ignored their civic duties. To the Greeks, who placed immense value on contributing to the life of the polis, or city-state, this was seen as a deeply selfish and ignorant way to live. Over time, this idea of being willfully ignorant of public matters led to the word meaning shifting, to describe someone who is generally unintelligent. So in ancient Greece, being called an idiot was less an insult to your intelligence and more an insult to your character as a citizen. Now for something a bit more light-hearted, imagine you're in ancient Alexandria and you're feeling a bit parched, but you need some holy water, not regular water. What do? You walk up to the world's first vending machine, of course. Yes, you heard that right. The first-century Greek mathematician and engineer, known as Hero of Alexandria, invented a device that would dispense a set amount of holy water when you inserted a coin. It was a simple but brilliant mechanism. When you dropped your coin into the slot, its weight would fall onto a small pan attached to a lever. The lever would then tip, opening a valve just long enough to release a splash of holy water. Once the coin slid off the pan, the lever would tip back and the valve would close, ready for the next customer. It's the earliest known example of an automated vending machine, proving that the desire for convenient, coin-operated service is thousands of years old. But Athenian democracy wasn't all about fairness and inclusion. It also had a unique and rather brutal safety feature called ostracism. Once a year, the citizens of Athens could gather to vote on whether to banish any single individual from the city for a full 10 years. There didn't need to be a formal charge or a trial. It was a purely political tool. Each voter would take a piece of broken pottery called an ostrakon and scratch the name of the person they wanted to exile onto it. The ostraka were then collected and counted. If any one person received a total of at least 6,000 votes, they were kicked out of Athens. They had 10 days to pack their bags and leave. This was designed as a preemptive strike against anyone who was becoming too powerful, too popular, or was seen as a potential tyrant who could threaten democracy. It was the ultimate cancel culture, ancient Greek style. Now let's talk about technology. In the year 1900, divers exploring a Roman-era shipwreck off the Greek island of Antikythera found a lump of corroded bronze. For decades, no one knew what it was. As scientists began to study it with X-rays and advanced imaging, they uncovered something astonishing, a complex system of at least 30 interlocking bronze gears. This device, now known as the Antikythera mechanism, has been called the world's first analog computer. Dating back to around 150 BC, it was an incredibly sophisticated astronomical calculator. By turning a hand crank, a user could track the positions of the sun, the moon, and the 5 planets visible to the naked eye. It could predict solar and lunar eclipses with remarkable accuracy and even indicated the timing of the 4-year cycle of the Olympic Games. The level of mechanical engineering displayed in this device was so advanced that nothing comparable was seen again in Europe for over 1,000 years until the astronomical clocks of the 14th century. It completely rewrites our understanding of ancient technological capabilities. Moving from technology to the battlefield, let's look at one of the most elite and unusual military units in history, the Sacred Band of Thebes. This was the premier fighting force of the city-state of Thebes, and it was composed of 150 pairs of male lovers. That's 300 soldiers in total, forming a corps d'élite. The thinking behind this, as recorded by the historian Plutarch, was that soldiers would fight with more courage and determination to protect their beloved partner than they would for a stranger. The bond between them was believed to make them unbreakable on the battlefield, and for a long time, it worked. The Sacred Band was undefeated for over 30 years, earning a reputation as one of the most formidable fighting forces in all of Greece. They were finally defeated and completely wiped out at the Battle of Cheronea in 338 BC, fighting against the powerful army of Philip II of Macedon, Alexander the Great's father. It's said that Philip wept when he saw their bodies lying together on the field, honoring their bravery. Finally, let's end with something you might have played with as a kid. What if I told you the yo-yo is an ancient Greek toy? That's right, this simple toy is believed to be the second oldest in the world, right after the doll. We have evidence of yo-yos being popular in ancient Greece as far back as 500 BC. These weren't made of plastic, of course. They were crafted from wood, metal, or terracotta discs. Some were left plain, while others were beautifully decorated with paintings of Greek gods or geometric patterns. We found these ancient yo-yos in archaeological digs, and they're even depicted on ancient vases. While some historians think they were just toys for children, others suggest that when a child came of age, they would dedicate their yo-yo to the gods as a symbolic offering. So the next time you see a yo-yo, remember that you're relooking at a piece of history that has been bringing joy to people for over 2,500 years. From painted statues and jury machines to vending machines and ancient computers, ancient Greece was a world full of innovation, strange customs, and incredible ingenuity. It just goes to show that history is never as simple as it seems, and there's always something new and surprising to discover. What fact surprised you the most? Let me know down in the comments. Thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed this journey back in time, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and ring the bell so you don't miss our next adventure. See you next time.